Administrator to be directed to provide an access key to Village Hall for each sworn trustee and the village clerk. This item placed on there, as grateful and as gracious as we are for the Park District and their partnership, the Board of Trustees and the residents, more importantly, I always say, the residents of this community deserve the access to Village Hall for meetings that are being held. So with that, I'll make the motion. I'll ask for a second. Then I'm gonna have a question. I'm gonna yield to our attorneys on in terms of enforcement, because we know the vote is one thing and enforcement is the second part. So after we get the motion second, I'm gonna ask Attorney Olson to kind of outline the next steps on this one. So I'll make a motion.
Second.
Hearing the motion and second, we're in discussion. I'll first ask Attorney Olson on next steps on this one, because the common practice has been the board votes, and then the enforcement part gets in the court, which takes a delayed time frame.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem House. So, some of the folks here will remember then the mayor locking the board out of the Village Hall, and the board having to set up a table and lawn chairs to have their meeting. You know where that happens? Nowhere, except here. That just doesn't happen. The trustees are elected by the people, and they need access to the municipal hall as the village board does. So the board has not been given access since that time. So that's why this action has to be taken. The village administrator works for the mayor and the board together, and the village administrator has to follow the direction of the board, and if he does not, he is subject to discipline by the board, suspension or termination. He must obey, as long as it's legal, the direction of the board. There are so many actions that we could run into court and litigate, but every time we do that, even if we're not billing you, Mr. Delgado's firm is. So there's no need to usurp any more money out of this municipality for lawyers, to be quite frank with you. Whether this works or not, we'll see, but I think the next item on the agenda may hopefully take care of all of this.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
So I'm not sold. This is, when we sit up here, these are ordinances, meaning that they are laws that we put into effect. And these laws are obviously being violated on a day-to-day basis. So making this ordinance or a resolution for giving the key, and either the mayor will instruct the village administrator to do it, I'm asking that at this point we have authority to change the locks and build them like everybody else do. I'm asking the question, but I'm very serious. I'm not joking, because we are here, and these residents, I'm so glad that you guys have come out. But this has been a stain on our community. There is no way that we should have to continue to come to the park, and then she don't even want to give the park permits. So it's no way that we should be locked out of a place where we pay taxes, a place that we're allowing the village administrator to come in our town and our township and destroy everything that's going on. So I'm just saying, and hey, I don't know how far it would go, but on the warrant list, I've seen Goldilocks on there 1,000 different times, as many times as they keep changing locks. We need to call them to make sure that everybody has a key fob by the end of next week.
Received, that were you seeking response?
Yes.
Attorney?
So with all due respect, I wouldn't suggest changing the locks at this time. I'd give it a bit, again, because that will create more time, more money, more controversy, another lawsuit. And even though she is withholding the trustees and the people from the People's House of Government, which they pay for, I really ask that you hold on that until we work through this agenda and we have an opportunity to turn this over to other authorities.
That don't sound good. That don't sound good. Turn it over to other authorities.
It's extremely saddening that time and time again, I mean, we, as the attorney stated, we were locked out of the building once before, and we did have to hold our meeting in the parking lot. But we also had another time where we entered the building and the mayor had the entire administration come and tell us that the lights were off. So they first told us that the lights were off. We had Trustee Belcher, she had to call ComEd while we were in the building to ask ComEd if the lights were off, and we found out that they weren't. Then they tried to say that it was carbon monoxide or something, so they called the fire department to come into the building. So these are the things that they do to prevent us from moving forward. We've all heard them being called secret squirrel meetings, right? But it's not a secret. We're trying to have access to the building that belongs to the residents. So that's why we are here. When I say that we are here to save Dolton, that's what I mean. We are here to save Dolton, to be able to have access to the building that, as Trustee Belcher stated, we pay taxes for. There's no way we should be here. So as a board, we're hoping that they provide us access with this ordinance put in place. But I know that we'll probably be here again next month. But we would like you all to know that we are continuously making an effort. And this is our attempt to fight for what's right. So that's what we'll continue to do. Thanks to
She's
the
not here.
And I hope if we have to continue to be here, we will continue to see you every time. Thank you.
One last thing, it's so funny and childish. Our mailboxes are outside. Our mailboxes were placed outside to prevent us from going into Village Hall.
It's crazy.
Every time we go into Village Hall, you see everybody picking up their phone. They're calling, they're here, they're here, they're here. It's a shame that you can't even go into Village Hall to ask a question about insurance or possible or permit anything. Every time you go in there, all eyes on us. We're outside today, we went today to renew our insurance. Cars circling the building while we're standing there. It's a shame an elected official is treated like an outlaw. So something definitely has to change. And it has to change immediately. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Trustee Brown. Having discussion, we'll close discussion at this time. I'll yield for Clerk Key to do the roll call, please.
Okay, Trustee Norwood.
Aye.
Trustee Tammy Brown. Aye. Trustee House.
Aye.
Trustee Belcher. Aye. Motion passed to provide keys to the Board of Trustees and the clerk.
Thank you very much. Item number 5 on the agenda. Item is an instruction for the village administrator and/or finance director are ordered to tender all payments made by the village for any reason, including Las Vegas junkets, the mayor's Tahoe car payments, security detail from June of 2021 to present. Said record shall be tendered within 14 days. Records of all expenditures January 1st, 23 through today must be tendered within the next 7 days by the village administrator. Failure to turn over the requested village financial record shall result in immediate suspension or termination of the village administrator.
Oh, wait.
All requested documents / records shall be recorded and turned over to the Board of Trustees, specifically Senior Trustee House. This was listed on there, and we've come to many meetings and we say we're not getting the information. And furtherly, I encourage that the information be placed on the board, on the website. Because there's no better transparent way to do it. For the purpose of this, we have to specify where we want it to be done, so that way it can be tracked. But I'll take it and we'll put it on the website. The important thing is that right now, financially, we know one thing, finances aren't good. But specifically where we're at, we're still left in the dark trying to figure out where the finances are for the village. This information is critical to the village, for the residents to understand where we stand, where we're at, and further to make sure that once we have the information, we can begin to create a plan on how we move forward. The last financial reporting that we received is September of 2023. On that report, it showed that there are $2.5 million worth of checks that have been issued, approved by the board, and have not made it to vendors. Just sitting on desk somewhere. That's completely unacceptable from my perspective, and I know the board will share that sentiment. So I'm making a motion that we move forward on this. I'll ask for a second open for discussion. Okay, Trustee Brown, second. Yield to discussion, anybody? Hearing no discussion on that, clerk, can you please roll call?
Trustee Norwood? Aye. Trustee Tammy Brown?
Aye.
Trustee House?
Aye.
Trustee Belcher?
Aye.
Motion passed to order the village administrator and finance director to turn over all financial records to Trustee House.
Okay, I think Attorney Olsen.
Yeah, just one follow-up on that. I don't know if the folks in Dolton follow all the TV that's gone on in the last couple of weeks about the squad cars and works vehicles that were on the verge of being repossessed because of a $76,000 payment that was not made, even though this board authorized the payment in May of 2023. You need to know that the mayor's Tahoe security detail car payments were made every single month. So you, and I was on TV saying this, it is a deadly sin to think that you could have lost 6 of your police vehicles. And when you lose the vehicles, you lose the police officers too. But she chose to keep her payments on her security detail intact. I think that's important for information. Thank you.
Very critical information, and there will be some follow-up on that point. I do want to pause for a moment, make a brief announcement, because I see one of our board commissioners. I'll tell you how much I appreciate the park board, so I want to make sure as I see them, I acknowledge we have Commissioner Willis Harris in the back.
Yes.
Please. Thank you again for your continued partnership. I did not acknowledge the executive director, Stephanie Freeman, as the executive director around.
She's out in the hall, I think.